Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships, and we have a very special ship to take a look at today. The Massachusetts. My favorite ship, at least that's what I've said in years past. This is my favorite ship in World of Warships. And I really haven't played it all that much in the last year. I've been focused on other things, doing other ship series, videos, trying to play some of the other more resource-based premiums throughout the year, trying to give updated looks at them for you guys. But is Massachusetts still as good as I remember? Is it still my favorite ship in the game? Yes, for me, this is the best ship in the game. It is so much fun to play. At Tier 8, when you get against Tier 8 Matchmaker, you can have so much fun. Pushing in, brawling, close range action. For me, that's what I love about battleships in this game. And Massachusetts really is amazing at it. It gets fast cooldown heals. That's a very unique gimmick of this ship. 40-second cooldown, and considering you want to be pushing in and brawling, that's very helpful for staying alive. It also has some pretty solid armor, torpedo protections. It's not very large, not a big superstructure either, so it's not going to take huge hits angled for the most part. And of course, we have secondaries alongside American 406mm guns. The only thing it really doesn't have is like a hydro, and the ASW range is incredibly nerfed, so maybe Wargaming could take a look at that. They've taken a look at some of the other ships they massively crippled when it came to the ASW range, and if we see that, this ship would be absolutely a blast to play still. It already is. Of course, how do we play a Massachusetts? We just full send it at the enemy team. Either we're going to have fun, close range, brawling action, or we're going to die quickly, which gets us into the next game, where hopefully we can send it in and get that close range brawling action. I had so much fun with this ship, guys. I had too many good games. I didn't even play it that much longer than a lot of the other ships videos. Try to do like 2 hours of dedicated playtime to make a lot of these videos, give them a chance. And all of them are basically all the games I had were amazing. I had such a good time, man. This ship, of course, being a Black Friday ship, means it's a discount. You get 30% off a typical Tier 8 price, and that's pretty good. Specifically with Massachusetts, it's only available during these Black Friday events, otherwise been removed from sale. And unfortunately, we do have to mention it again with this ship alongside Alaska, Jean Bart, and Azaccio. Yeah, only cash value to purchase it. You can't use doubloons, which is a really too bad. It's a shame. I wish Wargaming had kept it as an option for doubloons. But that's a dev strike. Don't expect that all the time, but this ship is capable of some amazing things. This is probably one of the best early games I've ever had in the ship, by the way. So much fun to just full send it in. We're so far ahead of our teammates, by the way, and still just pushing. There's a submarine around. We don't even care. We're just pushing in. Don't worry, I have some examples to show you guys of this ship not cooperating quite so well on its main gun's dispersion. But it can do well. As for the stats on this ship, it certainly is no North Carolina or even Alabama when it comes to its accuracy. This ship has 1.7 Sigma with a battleship dispersion, meaning Sigma is the tendency for the shells to go to the center of the dispersion ellipse, so lower is worse in this case. North Carolina has 2.05 Sigma, Alabama is at 1.9 Sigma. This ship is not as accurate as those two, but it makes up for it in this heal and gaining these secondaries, which have improved accuracy and good range at 11.3 kilometers. They only have a 5% fire chance. They're not massively buffed up like Ohio's are at Tier 10 as far as fire chance is concerned. And they only have 21 mil pen. So not as valuable as some new secondaries we've seen, Iparanga and Pan American battleship line. But the main guns are stronger, and I do think the ship overall is a little bit tankier. I just really value what this ship brings as far as that fast heal. And it's got some okay AA. I wouldn't rely on it, certainly. No AA is very good in this game anymore, but it's not bad. We're up to 161,000 damage in 6 minutes. 6 minutes as a Tier 8. And that includes some travel time. Absolutely ridiculous result. If you're not interested in battleships or brawling battleships, this is a skip, right? I think this is a very much one-dimensional playstyle where you're pushing, you're getting into brawling range like this, and that's what the ship does. If you're not interested in that, don't feel like you need to buy this ship or something if you're not going to enjoy or you don't enjoy that playstyle. But for me, it's so good, man. I love it. If I was to start again, brand new, fresh account today, knowing what I know now, Massachusetts would be an instant buy for me. Although, hey, it's partially because I would have the spending money. If you don't have the spending money for it, hey, don't feel bad. There's a lot of really solid brawling battleships. In fact, the Ipiranga is probably a bit stronger than this ship overall. I'm just a little biased towards this ship as it's been my favorite for so long. I just enjoy what it is, what it has, and how I've played it in the past. Just got some good memories for me. But Ipiranga is crazy and totally free tech tree ship to get. Long range dispersion is where this ship suffers. And if we know anything about high tier random battles, it's that the game is pretty passive these days, isn't it? It's going to suffer against tier 10s quite a lot. Even tier 9s, some of those games can get quite passive. Against your own tier, it is quite fun to do these pushes and get into brawling range. Ranked battles, it's going to be excellent as well. No hydro means you do have to be a bit careful of those DDs. They're going to do a great job of killing you, even with your torpedo protection, but it's just so fun, man. It really is. Look at that dispersion, by the way. It's a bit of a coin flip at times. Sometimes you're going to get those dev strikes. Other times, the ship is going to decide not to do much damage. And it's a bit boring here, I know, compared to the initial parts of this video, but I have to include it. I'm not going to just show you the best bits and not show you the weaknesses of this ship as well, even though I do enjoy it and love playing this ship so much. Even over things like Georgia and Ohio, which is sort of the unofficial tech tree battleship of secondary brawling American battleships. It's a premium tech tree, I suppose. And this ship is nowhere near as fast or like the Georgia, certainly. And I like that about it, actually. It's more maneuverable. It's got better turning radius, especially. And I really value that in a brawl. Sometimes Ohio, and especially Georgia, can feel a little bit unwieldy when you're trying to use your rudder to maneuver, dodge incoming fire, angle in quickly. It's a little bit harder than Massachusetts, and that's what I like so much about this ship and its design. Sure, it's a little bit slower, it's not as fast, but that rudder shift, and especially the turning radius, is so nice to have. We're going to see an example of that in the third game I have to show for you, but I did want to mention it as a unique characteristic of this ship if you've played something like Georgia or certainly Ohio at tier 10. The guns aren't as good though. Those two still have some very accurate main guns. This one a little bit less so. Alabama B is an interesting option for Black Friday, but considering Massachusetts is still available, for me it's just an easy pickup for Massachusetts. But hey, maybe I need to play some more Alabama. I really haven't played it enough yet, so maybe we'll take a look at that one as well, just to see if playing it means I've been underestimating its capabilities. It's possible. It is entirely possible. And miss again. Could be some aim issues or just the way dispersion goes, but that's going to be Massachusetts. Again, really wish Wargaming would have brought these back for doubloons like they have in previous years. It's so disappointing, man. That's the one problem. The one problem when it comes to this Black Friday. I wish it would have been just full doubloons and real money purchase as well. Just give us the option. Last ship is the carrier, and guess what? We have an opportunity for a Kraken here. Over 200,000 damage. Kraken would be insane. Also Confederate with Halsey. I remembered to take him out and put him on the ship this time, and it is very good when you get Confederate. But most of our damage still came early on in this match before we even had that Confederate. Angle into the carrier, he doesn't do too much damage, and we didn't do too much in return. Again, it's a bit of a coin flip against these broadsides. I would by no means guarantee or feel guaranteed that I'm going to get dev strikes against a lot of broadsides, but it can happen. And in this case, we do manage to get the finishing shot on the carrier, getting us our Kraken, 235,000 damage. Absolute monster of a game from such a fun battleship. It's still my favorite, guys. Although Tennessee gives it a run for its money. It's very different. Tennessee guaranteeing a lot of those broadside salvos. Almost 3k base XP. Wow. Just crazy, crazy game. Just full send pushing. It's so cool that we get rewarded for that in this ship. At nearly 2 million credits. Yes, tier 9s are going to earn you more credits. But tier 8s still do a pretty good job, man. Especially when you get a good game. And that's what it comes down to. Having a good game in a premium ship is always going to do better than an okay or bad game in a ship that's a higher tier premium and maybe is technically better. That's why I always recommend you guys get ships that fit your playstyle, that you're going to enjoy. Not only because then it's more fun to be grinding credits because you're playing a ship you enjoy, and also playing well is going to net you more credits than the strictly higher tier, technically stronger ship, especially if you're not enjoying the game playing that ship quite as much. Get the ship that fits your playstyle. And for me, yeah, that's Massachusetts. At least when it comes to battleships, I much prefer this full sending over the campy playstyle we get at higher tier a lot these days. In this case, we do fight against some tier 9s, but the enemy team is going to push as well. So good thing we have some island cover, and that's what's so nice about Massachusetts as well. It plays around islands very, very well. That turning circle radius helps it a ton to angle properly around island cover and maneuver yourself into a good position. Edinburgh, look at this guy. 8 kilometers away. Surely he's gonna die, right? He angles in for the first shot. Our secondaries will do some good damage. 21 mil pen means they're very good against these light cruisers. Very nice damage. Otherwise, you're going for like superstructures on battleships and that, which is still good. The accuracy's nice. He's broadside on now. We got our front guns. Hoping for some citadels, and we get a citadel. But we leave him on 1,000 HP. Rear gun, and not the best dispersion out of that rear gun. Probably we didn't quite lead enough since the island was in the way. And he gets away, unfortunately. Still great damage early on here. Los Andes coming through. Bismarck coming through. As well as some torpedoes. A little bit scary here, so we're going to back up just a little bit. Notice no carriers in these games. Yeah, that's a bit of the elephant in the room where I got to mention it. This ship is always going to do better when there's no carriers. Pushing in like I have in the first game and even this game, it just gets you targeted by the carrier. It's unfortunate, but carriers do tend to focus one target over and over and over again. It's because they usually pick a target that is closest to them, shortening travel times, increasing their DPM. It makes sense logically, right? But from a gameplay perspective, it feels pretty bad to be focused by a carrier, guys. And Massachusetts will struggle to that as well. Nearly dodge those torpedoes, man. That turning circle is so nice. But our torp protection does help us out there. Grom doesn't have the highest alpha damage either. And secondaries can help you against DDs. Certainly, the improved accuracy helps out a lot. Although main guns do a very good amount of damage to DDs when you get the lead right, and dispersion. It can be a little bit trolly, but you do have the secondaries to help you out, especially when they're YOLOing you at closer range. That's when they're going to be very, very accurate. Los Andes is looking at us, but he's not shooting us. I'm not sure why. I guess maybe he had a salvo. His guns were reloading, but we get very lucky that he doesn't shoot at us. I don't want to trade secondaries with the Los Andes or an Iparanga. Sure, their DPM isn't quite that of Massachusetts, just for raw DPM, but they have so much better pen and a good fire chance as well. So the trades will not go in our favor, and it's going to be very difficult for us to do good damage to them as well, since it's a very well-armored hull, smaller superstructure in that too. Maybe switching to AHE would be a good idea against them, considering their upper belt and that can just all be full pen with HE. Broadside Elena, and yes, we do manage to get a citadel. Not quite the kill. Secondaries will finish it though, getting ourselves a dev strike. A little bit unfortunate on some of these salvos here, but we still have nearly 100k damage. So even when the ship is trolling you a little bit when it comes to dispersion, you can still have some very good matches. Just because you're at close range, you're going to be more effective. That's just how it works. You're not going to be missing as much. Your secondaries are going to be going, as well as spotting for your teammates, right? We have 24,000 spotting damage. Not a ton, but it is still helping your teammates by pushing up. And by tanking a lot of damage, taking focus like this, it means your destroyers, your cruisers aren't going to be taking as much damage if they're more focused on you. You gotta be careful about dying yourself, though. It's very easy to overcommit and just die quickly. This Eden is still just living. I think he was blessed. We just aren't allowed to touch him, apparently. It happens, guys. It happens. You do need to know that. If you just watch the first, 5 minutes of this video and then bought it, you're not getting the full picture. This is a ship that does struggle with RNG. Much more so than a lot of other battleships. It's that Sigma value. But I still find it so fun. I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I know going into playing this ship that it's not going to be perfectly consistent, although it still can do nice damage. I mean, that's like 9,000 damage into an angled rook there. That's pretty nice. It's more RNG based, but the other tools allowing me to push up and brawl is what I value so highly with this ship. And still worried about Los Andes, but we'll push out now that he's a little bit lower on HP. I'm a little bit wondering why my secondaries aren't shooting. They have adjusted secondaries so that they fire over islands much more. Certainly, given the arcs on these secondaries, we could have been firing a lot sooner. I guess for whatever reason, that island is just tall enough to tell the AI to not fire the secondaries or whatever. But for the most part, they will shoot over islands. Now we slow down and turn in. And again, it's just that ability to angle in enough, much quicker than I would in a Georgia or an Ohio, means you can tank a lot of damage. You can avoid a lot of shells just by playing around with your rudder and your propulsion. In these games, I wasn't even using rudder or prop mod, by the way. We'll look at the build at the end, but I think it could do well with especially a prop mod build. I have enjoyed that in the past. If you know me, any of these videos on Massachusetts in the past, I'm constantly messing with my builds, constantly playing around with them, so they do change a lot. Another 1.5 million credits from this one. I should mention, definitely a premium account with blue boosters means I am getting a lot more credits than you would otherwise see. Even with green boosters, it's a pretty massive decline in credits. It still is a good credit farmer, though. And on to our last game. A little bit less of full send. We only really have an Azaccio here. Actually, our Algerie is in. He was AFK to start, but we don't know exactly what's here, and a little bit worried about that. Otherwise, we'd maybe push this island here. Although we know from experience, if you saw yesterday's video in Alaska, that pushing islands means destroyers can come YOLO you. So maybe not so quick to do that, at least in today's video. St. Louis here, Iowa here as well. We have a little bit less support, but we're still going to push up and use our decent tankiness, maneuverability to hopefully get some good damage in and avoid incoming fire. 5 heals plus a 6th depending on the build. I actually gave up Adrenaline Rush in some of these just to try out the full zombie heal, 6 heal Massachusetts, and it went pretty well. But I also didn't really run into games where I got to my 6th heal, so it's probably just better to have Adrenaline Rush. Look at that dispersion. What? How insane is that? Definitely a little temperamental when it comes to playing this thing. You can have games like that second game, or it'll just give you better than North Carolina or Alabama dispersion at times. It's very strange. It's a dice roll. It is a dice roll with this thing. Of course, it happened to be on this poor Boise who's dealing with Overmatch there. He played well. He's angling. Just gets absolutely crushed by the battleship Overmatch. It's a very strong gimmick, and I wish it was a little toned down, maybe. More like that. I want that damage. 24,000 into the broadside Bismarck. I want that kind of damage. That's the damage that I think is satisfying. I feel like I deserve... I mean, maybe that's not the right word, but I feel like I deserve the damage more when I catch someone broadside and do a massive hit than when I hit someone who's angled for a billion damage. And it feels like it's just a gimmick that they're suffering from and not that I outplayed them in any way. That's why I always say I want more damage against broadsides, more consistent damage against broadsides, and less damage against angled targets. It gives you incentive to wait for them to make a mistake, go broadside like this Boise is doing here. Secondaries on him as well, and no Citadel or full pens. we did more damage when he was angled than when he was broadside. For me, it feels a little bad, man. That feels a little bad. I would much rather we had done that 16,000 damage hit there when he was broadside, and honestly, even less when he was angled earlier in the game. For me, that's just kind of what I want to see out of the game. I know there's probably issues with that, but for me, that's what I would prefer this game be more like. That's why I like Tennessee so much, by the way, is smaller caliber guns means less reliance on overmatch, and cruiser dispersion means more consistent into those broadsides. But given how Massachusetts has so many tools available for it, it's not like you could just buff the dispersion anyway. There would have to be major changes. I understand that. Broadside Iowa. Let's see. What's the coin flip gonna be? 0 damage or all of his health? What do you think? Dispersion looks fine. What is it? Oh, it's a double citadel. It's all of his health. It's you gotta take the good with the bad, I guess, when it comes to playing the Massachusetts. I have a ton of fun with this thing, though. I did get pretty lucky. Much more of my salvos were good than bad, though. Let's be honest here, and it can go the other way very, very easily. But I will gladly take these games because I just had such a blast playing it. So much fun playing the game for a couple hours with this thing over and over again. Just pushing in, having a good time. And look at us. We have 3 heals left, and we have over 2 million potential damage. That's what I was saying about being able to avoid incoming damage. Not just healing through it, which we do as well. Certainly, it's a very good ship for healing through the damage, but you can avoid a lot too, considering how maneuverable and small this ship is. It's not a big target to hit, and it maneuvers very, very well. That's where I probably would switch out the damage control mod in favor of propulsion mod or even rudder mod, allowing me to dodge even more of that incoming damage. But hey, a pretty good result here in this one as well. Up over 140,000 damage, pushing in, as well as a flank where we had some support, but it is quite a bit further back than me. There was a lot of focus on us this game, and we still managed to live it with a lot of health to spare as well. It's a strong ship, man. I love it. I personally would get it again in a heartbeat, and the only reason I wouldn't get it is if you're not interested in the pushing brawling playstyle and you don't value that as much as an accurate ship, or you just don't like playing battleships. I think those are very fair reasons to not get it. You don't have to get the ship just because it's rare and strong in certain ways. If you're not going to enjoy the ship, I would not get it. But that's why it's so nice. There's so many options available during this Black Friday. Most for doubloons as well. Again, very unfortunate. Wargaming, please bring these things back for doubloons. If not this year, next year, please. Just do it. It's so much nicer to have both as an option. But it's nice to have all these different play styles, different ships in the game. People enjoy different parts of the game, and that's really cool that there's opportunity for that for everyone. For me, Massachusetts is just the ship. This is the best ship in World of Warships for me, as far as just playing the game, having a good time. For others, it's different ships. Alaska could be destroyers, and there's a lot of good options available for you. And that's great. As for the build for Massachusetts, again, it is always changing. It feels so bad to give up Adrenaline Rush for the extra heal, especially when I wasn't using it. So I probably would drop this in favor of Adrenaline Rush again. I was just experimenting here. In fact, maybe a good idea is going for, without emergency repair, getting our concealment, getting us much better conceal to push in without getting detected, taking as much damage before we get into close range, and then we drop Adrenaline Rush for improved repair party readiness to get us our 5th heal in the games that we would use it. I think that might be more valuable. Although, I don't know. I haven't tested it. And it certainly isn't cheap to be respecking your commander over and over again. I have a lot of elite XP. That's just I've played the game a long time. A lot of 21-point commanders to earn that. But even still, it is not cheap. So I don't blame you for not having the credits or the resources to do that very often. A recommended build probably is just honestly like that probably is what I would do. Fire prevention is incredibly valuable. I wouldn't want to give it up. Getting your 5th heal guaranteed instead of sometimes is probably better as well. Certainly, if you're playing in ranked modes, then you don't need the concealment as much either. I'd probably go with this if you have a 21 pointer to spare and play this ship with. That's probably a more standard build. Better to recommend that, I guess. And then damage control system is nice, certainly, but considering how fast our heals come back, maybe doing something like prop mod, giving us a little bit better maneuverability. I already talked up the maneuverability, and buffing that even further is pretty cool. 710 meter turning radius, by the way. That's like destroyer levels or close to it. That's why it's so maneuverable. It feels so nice to play, and that is much better than either the tier 9 or 10 Georgia and Ohio get. And I really enjoy that part about this ship. As for the armor, it is very good. We get a 38 mil deck armor, a pretty large superstructure, but it's not very long, I guess. It's a harder superstructure to hit, especially combined with that turning radius. 32 mil pretty much everywhere else. And as far as our citadel, it is a waterline citadel. So actually below water citadel, waterline citadel, below water. It's hard to tell, but it's hard to hit. So you're not going to get punished all that often when you go broadside, which for me personally, you know, if I'm living in this dream world of mine where I get to decide everything about this game, which is not reality, I would raise up this citadel quite a lot. I would bring back the old citadel. I'd bring it back to here, personally. I would reduce overmatch, and I would raise up citadels like this. Punish people for going broadside, reward people for angling, and I think that would be more fun, although there would be other problems, I'm sure. As it stands, though, Massachusetts is incredibly tanky and incredibly fun to brawl with, and for me, it would be an instant pickup if I had to start out a new account again, knowing what I know. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.